When billionaire heir Sam Ryder flees scandal and ends up on Josie Miller's struggling apple farm, a single lie sparks a collision of love, legacy, and betrayal. But can two worlds rooted in secrets ever truly grow together? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun beat down on Josie Miller's weathered cap as she knelt in the dirt, examining the base of an apple tree. Her fingers, rough from years of farm work, traced the bark where fungus had started to grow. Another problem to add to her never-ending list. Just great, she muttered, wiping sweat from her brow with the back of her hand. At 36, Josie hadn't expected to be back at Miller's orchard. 10 years ago, she'd escaped this place, determined to make a life in the city. But when her father died suddenly of a heart attack last year, leaving behind mountains of debt and her ailing Aunt Martha, Josie had no choice but to return. The bank was circling like vultures, ready to foreclose. The equipment was falling apart, and the 20 acres of apple trees needed more care than she could give alone. Josie stood up, her knees cracking in protest, and looked out over the orchard. The rows of trees stretched before her, branches heavy with fruit almost ready for harvest. Despite everything, she couldn't help feeling a spark of pride. This land had been in her family for 3 generations. She wasn't about to let it slip. "Away, Miss Miller?" The voice startled her. Josie turned to see a man standing a few yards away. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a face partly hidden by a worn baseball cap. His jeans were caked with mud, and his flannel shirt had seen better days. Another drifter looking for seasonal work, she figured. "We're not hiring," she said automatically. The man took a step forward. "Your ad in the general store says different." Josie sighed. She had put up that notice last week in a moment of desperation. The harvest was coming and she couldn't handle it alone. "Look, I can't pay much," she said bluntly. The man shrugged. "I'm not asking for much, just a fair wage and maybe a place to stay during harvest season." Something about his voice caught her attention. It didn't match his appearance somehow, too smooth, too educated. "You got experience with apple orchards?" she asked skeptically. "I know my way around farms," he said vaguely. "I'm a quick learner." Josie crossed her arms. "What's your name?" Sam Ryder." She studied him carefully. Despite the mud and worn clothes, there was something different about this man. His hands were calloused, yes, but not in the way career farm hands were. His posture was too straight, his gaze too direct. But she was desperate. "Fine, you can start today. Bunkhouse is behind the main house. It's not much, but it's got a bed and running water. Pay is weekly. Cash." "That works for me," Sam said with a smile that was unexpectedly warm. "Don't thank me yet," Josie warned. "This isn't easy work," Sam nodded. "I didn't come looking for easy." As he walked away toward the bunkhouse, Josie couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Sam Ryder than met the eye. But she had too many problems to worry about one mysterious farmhand. Inside the small farmhouse, Josie found Aunt Martha in her usual spot by the window, looking out at the orchard. "Who is that man?" Martha asked, her voice frail but her mind still sharp. "New worker for the harvest, named Sam Ryder." Martha raised an eyebrow. "Handsome fella." "I didn't notice," Josie lied, pouring a glass of water and checking Martha's pill organizer. "Did you take your medicine today?" "Don't change the subject," Martha said with a knowing smile. "Been a long time since we had a man around here who wasn't trying to sell us something or take something away." Josie sighed. "He's just passing through, Aunt Martha. Here for the harvest, then gone." Martha hummed, unconvinced, just like all the others. The others Martha referred to were the string of men who had disappointed Josie over the years. Her high school boyfriend who chose college over her, the city accountant who couldn't understand why she'd give up everything for a struggling farm. Josie had built walls around her heart stronger than the barn's foundation. "I'm not interested in another heartbreak," Josie said firmly. "I'm interested in saving this farm." Martha reached for her niece's hand. "Why can't you have both, honey?" Josie pulled away gently. "Because that's not how life works." She glanced at her watch. "I better get back out there. Those trees won't prune themselves." Sam Ryder stood in the small bunkhouse, looking at his reflection in the cracked mirror over the sink. He ran a hand over his face, feeling the stubble that had grown over the past week. No one would recognize him now. That was the point. 3 weeks ago, he had been sitting in a glass-walled office in Chicago, watching his family's agricultural technology empire implode around him. Samuel J. Ryder III, heir to Ryder Agritech, caught in a scandal not of his making but bearing his name nonetheless. His cousin and CFO, James, had been embezzling millions while falsifying environmental reports. When the story broke, the Ryder name was dragged through the mud. The board turned on Sam, despite his ignorance of the scheme. His fiancée, Vanessa, suddenly needed space. His father, dying in his mansion in Arizona, had one last conversation with him. "Fix this, Samuel. The legacy depends on you." But Sam was tired. Tired of board meetings and PR disasters. Tired of living up to the Ryder name. So he did the one thing no one expected. He disappeared. He ditched his phone, withdrew cash, drove west until his designer clothes were replaced with farm store specials and the mud of real work covered his hands. Sam splashed water on his face. For the first time in years, he felt something like peace. Here, he wasn't Samuel J. Ryder. Third, he was just Sam, a farmhand. No expectations, no legacy, no betrayal. Little did he know that the peace he sought would be disrupted by a woman with fierce eyes and a stubborn spirit, fighting for her own legacy just as desperately as he was running from his. The next morning, Josie was up before dawn. She found Sam already in the barn examining the old tractor. "Something wrong with it?" she asked. Sam straightened up. "Just looking. This model has a common issue with the fuel line. Mind if I take a look?" Josie raised an eyebrow. "You know about tractors too?" "Enough," he said simply. "Well, it's been acting up. Keeps stalling when I need it most." She handed him a toolbox. "If you can fix it, you've earned your pay for the day." Sam nodded and got to work. Josie tried not to notice how his muscles moved under his shirt as he leaned over the engine, or how his eyes crinkled at the corners when he concentrated. By mid-morning, the tractor was running better than it had in years. "How did you do that?" Josie asked, impressed despite herself. "Just needed some attention," Sam said, wiping grease from his hands. "Machine like this has a lot of life left in it, if you know how to talk to it." "Well, Mr. Tractor Whisperer, now, you can help me with the south section. Those trees need pruning before harvest." As they walked together toward the orchard, Josie felt something unfamiliar stirring inside her. It had been a long time since anyone had made things easier rather than harder. But she quickly pushed the feeling away. Sam Ryder was just passing through. And Josie Miller knew better than to count on anyone but herself. Days passed, turning into weeks. Sam proved himself to be a hard worker, though sometimes Josie caught him making rookie mistakes that confirmed her suspicion he wasn't a career farmhand. Still, he learned quickly and never complained, even when the work was backbreaking. One evening, as the sun was setting over the orchard, Josie found Sam sitting on the porch of the bunkhouse, reading some papers. "What's that? Love letters?" she joked, setting down a basket of fresh towels. Sam quickly folded the papers, spreadsheets filled with numbers. "Just some reading material." "You know how to read, cowboy?" she teased. A flash of something crossed his face. Hurt, perhaps, or annoyance. "I manage." Josie immediately felt bad. "Sorry, bad joke." She sat down on the step below him. "You're not really a cowboy, are you? Or even a career farmhand?" Sam was quiet for a moment. "Does it matter what I was before? I'm here now." "I guess not," Josie said. "As long as you don't steal anything or murder me in my sleep." Sam laughed, a deep, genuine sound that made Josie smile too. "I promise no murder plans." "Well, that's a relief." Josie stood up. "We start picking the early varieties tomorrow. Better get some rest." As she walked back to the house, Josie realized it was the first real conversation they'd had that wasn't about work. And strangely, she wanted more. The harvest began in earnest. Days started before sunrise and ended long after sunset. Josie hired a few local teenagers to help, but Sam was her right hand. They developed a rhythm together, moving through the orchard like they'd been doing this dance for years. "You make this look easy," Josie commented one day as they loaded crates onto the ancient pickup truck. "It's not easy," Sam replied, lifting another heavy crate. But it's honest, that's what I like about it. Honest? Josie laughed. What were you doing before that wasn't honest? Sam's face closed off. Just a figure of speech. Josie knew she'd hit a nerve, but her curiosity was piqued. You ever gonna tell me where you came from, Sam Ryder? Does it matter? He asked again. Maybe not, but sometimes I feel like I'm working alongside a ghost, a man with no past. Sam set down the crate he was holding and looked directly at her. Maybe that's exactly what I want to be. The intensity in his eyes made Josie's heart skip a beat. For a moment, they just looked at each other, surrounded by the sweet smell of apples and the golden afternoon light. The moment was broken by the sound of a car coming up the drive. Josie turned to see a black sedan with the bank's logo on the door. Great, she muttered. Just what I need. Sam noticed the change in her demeanor. Everything okay? Just a friendly visit from the people trying to take my farm, Josie said bitterly. Stay here, I'll handle this. As she walked toward the house, Sam watched her, shoulders squared and head high, despite the worry that was clearly eating at her. In that moment, something shifted inside him. This wasn't just a hideout anymore, and Josie Miller wasn't just his boss. He was starting to care, and that was the last thing he had planned on. The banker, a thin man named Peterson, sat at Josie's kitchen table looking uncomfortable. I'll be direct, Miss Miller. You're 3 months behind on payments. The bank can't continue to extend. I know exactly how behind I am, Josie cut in. But the harvest is coming in now. I'll have money soon. Peterson sighed. We've heard that before. Your father made the same promises. Josie felt her temper flare. Don't talk about my father. I'm just saying the bank has been patient. But patience has limits. You have until the end of the month to make a substantial payment, or we'll have to begin foreclosure proceedings. After Peterson left, Josie sat at the table, head in her hands. The farm was producing, but prices were down this year. Even with a good harvest, she wasn't sure she could meet the bank's demands. She didn't hear Sam enter until he spoke. Bad news? Josie looked up, embarrassed to be caught in a vulnerable moment. Nothing I can't handle. Sam sat across from her. Sometimes it helps to talk about it. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe something about Sam made her want to open up. But Josie found herself telling him everything. Her father's poor financial decisions, the mounting debt, her desperate attempt to modernize the orchard on a shoestring. Budget. I can't lose this place, she finished. It's not just land, it's my family's history, it's who I am. Sam listened without interrupting. When she finished, he simply said, You won't lose it. How can you be so sure? Because you care too much, he said. And in my experience, that counts for something. Josie looked at him, really looked at him, and saw more than just a farmhand. She saw a man with depth, with secrets, and with a kindness that touched something inside her that had been closed off for a long time. Thank you, she said softly. Sam nodded, and their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary. Something was changing between them, something neither had expected. When Sam first walked onto the farm, the next morning Josie woke to the sound of a helicopter. It was unusual enough to hear one in these parts, but this one sounded close, too close. She rushed outside in her pajamas and boots to see a sleek black helicopter descending into the north field, sending chickens scattering and whipping up. Dust? What the hell? She yelled, running toward it. The helicopter landed, its blades slowing. Josie looked around frantically for Sam, wondering if he'd seen this too. Then the door opened, and her heart stopped. Sam stepped out, but not the Sam she knew. This man wore a crisp button-down shirt and tailored pants. His hair was neatly combed and his face freshly shaved. Behind him emerged two people with tablets and phones, and a man in a suit who addressed him deferentially. Mr. Ryder, we really must hurry. The board is waiting for your statement. Josie stood frozen as Sam, or whoever he really was, spotted her. For a moment he looked like a deer in headlights. Then he excused himself from his entourage and walked toward her. Josie, I can explain, he began. But Josie found her voice and with it, her anger. Explain what? That everything about you is a lie? That you've been playing farmer while laughing at me behind my back? It wasn't like that, Sam said desperately. Then what was it like, Mr. Ryder? She demanded, emphasizing his name with scorn. Was I some kind of charity case? A little project to make yourself feel better about whatever rich person problem you're running from? The hurt in her eyes cut deeper than any accusation. Sam reached for her hand, but she pulled away. I trusted you, she said, her voice breaking. I let you into my life, my home. Josie, please. No, she cut him off. Just go. Go back to your real life, Sam, or whatever your name really is. We don't need your kind of help here. Before he could respond, one of his assistants approached. Mr. Ryder, we really must leave now. The press conference. I know, Sam said sharply, not taking his eyes off Josie. Just give me a minute. But Josie was already backing away, her face a mask of betrayal. Don't bother, she said. There's nothing left to say. She turned and walked back to the house, her back straight and her heart breaking. Sam watched her go, feeling as though something precious was slipping through his fingers. Behind him, his old life was calling. In front of him, the woman who had shown him what really mattered was walking away, and Sam Ryder, heir to a global empire but a man who had found himself in the mud of an apple orchard, was caught between two worlds, knowing he couldn't belong to both. Josie slammed the farmhouse door behind her, ignoring Aunt Martha's startled look. Her hands were shaking as she poured herself a glass of water. Josie, what on earth is going on? I heard a helicopter, Martha said, wheeling her chair. Closer. It's nothing, Josie replied, her voice tight. Just our farmhand turning out to be someone else entirely. Martha's eyes widened. Sam. What do you mean? Josie laughed bitterly. Sam Ryder isn't just some drifter looking for work. He arrived in a helicopter with assistants calling him Mr. Ryder, like he's royalty or something. Martha was quiet for a moment. Did you let him explain? Explain what? That he's been lying to me for weeks? Playing some kind of game? Josie shook her head. I don't need to hear his excuses. Through the window, they could see Sam talking intensely with the suited man. After a few minutes, he reluctantly climbed back into the helicopter. The machine lifted off, its noise fading as it disappeared into the sky. Well, that's that, Josie said, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. Good riddance. But later that night, alone in her room, the tears finally came. She wasn't crying over Sam, she told herself. She was crying over her own foolishness, for letting down her guard, for starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in this fight. Samuel J. Ryder III stared out the helicopter window, watching Miller's orchard grow smaller below him. He felt sick to his stomach, like he was being torn away from something essential. The board is assembled for an emergency meeting, his assistant Karen was saying. The PR team has prepared a statement for you to— I don't care about the statement, Sam interrupted. Karen blinked, surprised. Mr. Ryder, with all due respect, this crisis requires your immediate attention. The company stock has fallen 30%. Your father's legacy— My father's legacy, Sam repeated flatly. That's all anyone cares about. The suited man, Harold Barnes, the company's legal counsel, cleared his throat. It's not just about legacy, Samuel, it's about survival. If we don't contain this scandal, Ryder Agritech could collapse. Thousands of jobs are at stake. Sam knew they were right. His cousin James had done unimaginable damage, not just to the family name, but to everyone who depended on the company. Running away had been selfish, but as the helicopter sped toward Chicago, Sam couldn't stop thinking about Josie. The hurt in her eyes, the feeling of her calloused hand in his as they worked side by side in the orchard, the way she fought for what mattered to her. Sam had spent his whole life being Samuel J. Ryder III, heir to an empire. For a few weeks, he'd been Sam, just Sam, working honest labor and connecting with a woman who saw him. Not his name, not his money, just him. And now he'd lost that too. The next morning, Josie threw herself into work with renewed determination. She had an orchard to save, and no time to waste thinking about Sam Ryder. We need to get the rest of these golden delicious picked by tomorrow, she told the teenage workers she'd hired. The buyer is coming Thursday. One of the teens, Mike, looked around. Where's Sam? He usually handles the north section. Sam's gone, Josie said shortly. We'll manage without him. But managing without Sam proved harder than expected. He'd been doing the work of two men, and his absence left a hole that couldn't easily be filled. By midday, Josie was exhausted and falling behind schedule. As she struggled to fix a broken ladder, a familiar truck pulled up. It was Earl Jenkins, their nearest neighbor and a lifelong friend of her father's. "Heard you might need some help," Earl said, climbing out of his truck. "My harvest's done and I've got a couple of strong backs to spare." Josie could have cried with relief. "Earl, you're a lifesaver." Earl nodded, eyes twinkling. "We take care of our own around here, unlike those city types who drop in when it's convenient." Josie stiffened. "You heard about Sam?" "News travels fast," Earl shrugged. "Margaret at the general store says he's some big shot CEO. His picture was on the business channel this morning." Josie tried to ignore the pang in her chest. "Well, he's gone now and we've got apples to pick." With Earl and his farmhands helping, they managed to get back on schedule. But as the day wore on, Josie found herself looking up whenever a car passed by on the distant road, half expecting to see Sam returning. He didn't come back. That evening, Josie sat with Aunt Martha on the porch, counting the day's earnings. It was better than she'd hoped, but still not enough to satisfy the bank. "We need a miracle," Josie sighed. "Or at least another week of good weather." Martha patted her hand. "You know, I've been thinking about Sam," Josie groaned. "Please, not. Now just hear me out," Martha insisted. "If he really is who Earl says he is, maybe he could help with the bank." "I don't want his help," Josie said firmly. "I don't want to owe anything to a man who lied to me from the moment we met." Martha's eyes were gentle. "Pride makes for cold company on winter nights, Josie." "So does betrayal," Josie shot back. "Besides, he made his choice. He got on that helicopter and flew back to his real life." Martha sighed. "Maybe he had no choice." Josie stood up. "We all have choices. He chose to lie, and now I'm choosing to forget him." But as she lay in bed that night, forgetting Sam Ryder proved impossible. In Chicago, Sam sat in a conference room surrounded by lawyers, PR consultants, and board members. For 3 days straight, he'd been in damage control mode, issuing statements, meeting with investors, reassuring partners. "The investigative committee has confirmed you had no knowledge of James's activities," Harold was saying. "The board is satisfied that you were not involved in the embezzlement or the falsified reports." "How generous of them," Sam said dryly. Karen slid a thick folder across the table. "These are the reform proposals you asked for. New oversight measures, environmental initiatives, transparency protocols." Sam nodded, leafing through the pages. He'd been working on these changes for months, even before the scandal broke. Now, they were his condition for staying. "And what about James?" he asked. Harold adjusted his glasses. "Your cousin is facing criminal charges. The company is cooperating fully with the authorities." Sam closed the folder. "Good. Is there anything else?" The room was silent for a moment. Then an older board member, Walter Chen, spoke up. "Just one thing, Samuel, we're all curious. Where exactly did you disappear to for those weeks?" Sam stood up. "That's personal. If there's nothing else, I'd like to get some rest." As the others filed out, Karen stayed behind. "There is one more thing," she said hesitantly. "Your father is asking to see you." Sam felt a familiar weight settle on his shoulders. His father, once the towering figure behind Ryder Agritech, was now confined to his bed, ravaged by cancer. Their relationship had always been complicated, more CEO and heir than father and son. "Tell him I'll fly out tomorrow," Sam said. Once alone, Sam walked to the window of his penthouse apartment. From 40 stories up, Chicago spread out before him, a glittering carpet of lights. Everything he'd ever wanted was at his fingertips: power, purpose, the chance to redeem his family name. So why did he feel so empty? He took out his phone and pulled up a photo he'd secretly taken at the orchard. Josie standing among the apple trees, her face lifted to the sun, unaware she was being watched. In that moment, she'd looked so strong, so connected to the land she loved. Sam put the phone away and made a decision. A week passed at Miller's orchard. The harvest was nearly complete, and Josie was running numbers at the kitchen table. Even with Earl's help, They were going to come up short with the bank. Maybe we could sell the east parcel, she told Martha. It's the least productive part of the orchard. Martha shook her head. Your father always said never to break up the land. Once you start selling pieces, there's no going back. Josie rubbed her temples. I don't see another way. The sound of a truck coming up the drive interrupted their conversation. Josie went to the window, expecting to see Earl or one of the local buyers. Instead, a delivery truck from Anderson's farm supply was parking in front of the barn. Josie frowned. She hadn't ordered anything. Wait here, she told Martha, heading outside. The delivery driver hopped out with a clipboard. Delivery for Miller's Orchard, he announced cheerfully. I didn't order anything, Josie said. The driver shrugged. It's all paid for. Just need your signature. Bewildered, Josie signed the form. Two men began unloading large boxes from the truck. She opened one to find brand new irrigation equipment, the same high-efficiency system she'd been eyeing in catalogs but could never afford. There must be some mistake, she told the driver. He handed her an envelope. No mistake, this explains everything. Inside the envelope was a note and a check. Josie's hands trembled as she read, Josie, this isn't charity. It's an investment in a good farm and a better farmer. The irrigation system will increase your yield by 30% next season. The check should cover your bank payments until then. No strings attached. SR. The check was for $50,000. Josie's first instinct was anger. How dare he? But beneath the anger was something else. Relief, confusion, and a traitorous flicker of hope. Who's it from? Martha asked when Josie returned to the house. Josie handed her the note. Sam. Martha read it and smiled. Well, well. I'm sending it back, Josie declared. All of it. Why? Martha challenged. Because your pride is worth more than this farm? Josie sank into a chair. It's not about pride, it's about... I don't know what it's about anymore. Martha wheeled closer. Josie, sometimes help comes from unexpected places. Maybe instead of asking why he sent it, you should be asking why you're so afraid to accept it. That night, Josie tossed and turned, the check and note on her bedside table. By morning, she'd made her decision. She would accept the irrigation system. It was an investment in the farm, as Sam had said, but the check she would return. She wouldn't be bought, not even by Sam Ryder. In Arizona, Sam sat beside his father's bed. Joseph Ryder had once been a force of nature, a self-made man who built an agricultural empire from nothing. Now he was frail, his once commanding voice reduced to a whisper. The board tells me you've done well, Joseph said. Contained the damage. Sam nodded. The company will survive. Joseph's eyes, still sharp despite his illness, studied his son. You've changed. Have I? Something's different. Joseph reached for his water and Sam helped him take a sip. Where did you go, Samuel? When you disappeared? Sam hesitated, then decided on the truth. There's a small apple orchard in Washington state. I worked as a farmhand. To his surprise, his father laughed, a weak sound that turned into a cough. A rider, working as a farmhand. Your grandfather would roll in his grave. Maybe that's why I liked it, Sam said. Joseph was quiet for a moment. Was it good, the work? It was hard, Sam admitted. Harder than anything I've done. But yes, it was good, honest. Joseph closed his eyes. I started that way too, you know, in the fields, before the patents and the technology. Somewhere along the way, I forgot what it felt like to have dirt under my nails. Sam had never heard his father talk like this before. Joseph Ryder had always been about expansion, innovation, the bottom line. Never nostalgia. There was a woman, Sam found himself saying. Josie, she owns the orchard. She's extraordinary, fighting to save her family's land, taking care of her aunt, never giving up despite impossible odds. Joseph opened his eyes. You care for her. It wasn't a question, but Sam answered anyway. Yes. And does she care for you? The real you, not the farmhand? Sam looked away. She didn't get the chance to know the real me. I lied to her. Ah, Joseph sighed. The Ryder curse. We're good at business, terrible at love. Sam remembered. His mother leaving when he was 12, unable to live in Joseph's shadow any longer. His own failed engagement to Vanessa, who had seen him as a ticket to social status rather than a partner. It doesn't have to be a curse, Sam said. It can be a choice. Joseph studied him. And what choice will you make, son? For the first time in his life, Sam felt like his father was truly asking for his thoughts, not testing him or directing him. I don't know yet, Sam admitted, but I'm starting to figure it out. Back at the orchard, Josie was inspecting the new irrigation system with Earl. The installation team had worked quickly, and the system was already operational. This is top-of-the-line equipment, Earl said, impressed. Must have cost a fortune, Josie nodded uncomfortably. She still hadn't told anyone exactly who had sent it or how much the accompanying check had been for. It'll make a big difference next season, she said. Earl gave her a knowing look. And what about this season? Bank still giving you trouble? Josie sighed. Earl knew her situation too well. I've got enough to make a partial payment. I'm hoping they'll give me an extension on the rest. Banks aren't known for their patience, Earl warned, especially not with small farms. Josie knew he was right. Despite her initial resolve to return Sam's check, she hadn't sent it back yet. Every time she tried, she thought about losing the farm, about Aunt Martha having to move, about her father's dream dying on her watch. I'll figure something out, she said with more confidence than she felt. That afternoon, Josie drove to the bank. Peterson, the loan officer, looked surprised to see her. Miss Miller, I wasn't expecting you until the end of the month. Josie set a check on his desk, her own, not Sam's. It's a partial payment, and I want to discuss refinancing options. Peterson's expression was sympathetic but firm. I'm afraid a partial payment isn't going to be enough. The bank has been more than patient. The harvest was good, Josie argued, and I've installed a new irrigation system that will increase yields next year. If you could just give me a little more time. Miss Miller, Peterson interrupted. I understand your attachment to the property, but business is business. Without a substantial payment, I'm going to have to begin foreclosure proceedings. Josie felt the walls closing in. How substantial? Peterson named a figure, almost exactly. The amount of Sam's check. I'll have it for you, Josie heard herself say, by the end of the week. Outside in her truck, Josie rested her forehead against the steering wheel. She was going to use Sam's money. She had no choice. But what did that mean? What would he expect? In return, nothing, his note had said. No strings attached. But in Josie's experience, there were always strings. As she drove home, a new thought occurred to her. Maybe the strings weren't the problem. Maybe what scared her wasn't owing Sam, but feeling something for him. Something that had started before. She knew who he really was. In Chicago, Sam sat in another board meeting, half listening as the CFO presented quarterly projections. His mind was back at the orchard, wondering if Josie had accepted his gift or sent it back in pieces. His phone buzzed with a text from Karen. Anderson's Farm Supply confirms delivery received at Miller's orchard. So she had accepted it. Something loosened in Sam's chest. Mr. Ryder, your thoughts? Sam looked up to find the entire board watching him expectantly. He hadn't heard the question. I think, he began, then stopped. What did he think? About the company, about his life, about what really mattered. He stood up. I think we need to take a break. I'd like to continue this tomorrow. As the board members filed out, Walter Chen approached him. Is everything all right, Samuel? You seem distracted. Sam had known Walter since childhood. He was one of the few board members who had treated him as more than just Joseph Ryder's heir. Walter, have you ever felt like you were living someone else's life? Walter considered this. When I was younger, perhaps, my father wanted me to be a doctor like him. I wanted to invest in agricultural technology. What made you choose your own path? Walter smiled. I met my wife. She told me life was too short to live it for someone else. Sam nodded, making a decision. Could you take over the meeting tomorrow? There's somewhere I need to be. The sun was setting as Josie walked among the apple trees, breathing in the familiar scent of fruit and earth. The harvest was over. The bank payment had been made. With Sam's money, the farm was safe, at least for now. So why didn't she feel relieved? She hadn't heard from Sam since the irrigation system arrived. Part of her was glad, but another part wondered if his charity had been a final goodbye. A way to clear his conscience before returning to his real life for good. Josie stopped at the old apple press near the barn. Her father had built it years ago. A massive wooden contraption that turned imperfect apples into the best cider in the county. She ran her hand over the worn wood, thinking about legacy, about what it meant to belong to a place. It's beautiful. Craftsmanship. The voice behind her made her heart stop. She turned slowly. Sam stood a few yards away, dressed in the same mud-caked jeans and worn flannel shirt he'd worn when they first met. His hair was rumpled, his face unshaven. In his hands was a thermos. "What are you doing here?" Josie asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Sam held out the thermos. "I brought cider, your favorite kind from that little stand on Highway 12. Josie didn't move to take it. "Why are you here, Sam? Or should I call you Samuel J. Ryder III?" He winced at the formal name. "Just Sam, please." "Why are you here?" she repeated. Sam set the thermos on the apple press. "I needed to explain. About why I left. About who I really am." "I know who you are," Josie said. "I saw you on the business channel, CEO of Ryder Agritech, billionaire heir, recently involved in some scandal." "That's part of who I am," Sam acknowledged. "But it's not all of me." Josie crossed her arms. "And the part that lied to me for weeks? Is that part of you too?" Sam stepped closer. "I never lied about the important things. About how I felt working here, about..." He hesitated. "About how I felt about you." Josie swallowed hard. "You let me stand in the dirt beside you while you hid behind mud, Sam, and I don't know if I can forgive that." "I wasn't hiding," Sam said, his voice breaking slightly. "I was trying to remember what life feels like when it's real." The sincerity in his voice made Josie's resolve waver. "And what about the money? The equipment? What do you expect in return?" "Nothing," Sam said firmly. "It wasn't charity, Josie. It was me trying to help someone I care about. And now what? You go back to being a CEO, and I go back to being a farmer." Sam took another step toward her. "I didn't buy your farm, Josie. I just want to belong in your world, if you'll let me." Josie looked at him, really looked at him. Behind the mud and beneath the expensive suits was a man caught between two lives, just as she had been caught between her past and future when her father died. "You lied," she said softly. "I fell," he answered simply. "For this place, for the work, for you. And now..." Sam reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. "I'm yours," he said. "No helicopters, no titles, just me, just Sam." Josie felt the last of her defenses crumbling. She'd spent so long fighting alone that she'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone fighting alongside her. She took his hand. "Then let's start over, from the dirt up." As the sun disappeared behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the orchard, Josie and Sam sat on the steps of the apple press, sharing cider from the thermos. They talked, really talked, about their pasts, their fears, the pressures that had shaped them. Sam told her about his father's illness, about the scandal his cousin had caused, about the weight of responsibility he'd carried his whole life. Josie told him about her mother leaving when she was young, about fleeing the farm only to return when her father needed her most, about her dreams for the orchard. As night fell, Sam walked Josie back to the farmhouse. At the door, he hesitated. "I should go. I'm staying at the motel in town." Josie nodded, suddenly shy. Will you come back tomorrow?" Sam smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Try and stop me." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. Instead, Josie met him halfway. Their kiss was gentle, at first then deeper, a promise of something new beginning. Neither of them noticed the car parked on the distant road or the man inside taking photographs of their embrace. Michael Davis, Sam's main competitor, and the man who had first suspected James Ryder's financial misconduct, smiled as he reviewed the photos on his camera. Samuel J. Ryder III, heir to Ryder Agritech, kissing a simple farm girl. This could be Useful. Very useful indeed. The next morning, Josie woke with a strange feeling of lightness. For the first time in months, the weight of the orchard's problems didn't immediately crush her as she opened her eyes. She lay still for a moment, remembering Sam's kiss, the warmth of his hands, the sincerity in his voice when he said, "I'm yours." Then reality came flooding back. Who was she kidding? Sam Ryder was a billionaire CEO. She was a struggling farmer with dirt under her fingernails and a mountain of debt. Last night might have felt like a new beginning, but morning brought clarity. What kind of future could they possibly have? Downstairs, she found Aunt Martha already awake, a knowing smile on her face. "I saw you two from the window last night," Martha said, not bothering to hide her pleasure. "Quite a kiss." Josie felt her cheeks warm. "It was just... we were just..." "Save it," Martha laughed. "I've waited years to see you look at a man the way you looked at him." Josie poured herself coffee. "It's complicated, Aunt Martha." "Love always is," Martha replied simply. "The question is whether it's worth fighting for." Before Josie could answer, there was a knock at the door. Her heart skipped, thinking it might be Sam. Instead, she opened the door to find Earl Jenkins, looking unusually serious. "You might want to see this," he said, handing her a folded newspaper. It was the local paper. On the front page was a photo of Josie and Sam kissing by the farmhouse under the headline, "Ryder Heir Finds Love in Apple Country." Josie felt her stomach drop. "How did they..." Earl shook his head. "News travels fast when it involves someone like Sam Ryder. Whole town's talking about it." Josie scanned the article. It was filled with speculation about their relationship, references to Sam's recent corporate scandal, and thinly veiled implications that Josie might be after his money. "This is a nightmare," she groaned. Earl shifted uncomfortably. "There's more. Reporters are parked at the end of your drive. I had to tell them I was delivering feed to get through." Josie thanked Earl and closed the door, leaning against it. Martha wheeled over and took the paper. "Well," she said after reading it, "fame comes with the territory when you're involved with a Ryder." "I'm not involved with him," Josie protested. Weakly, Martha raised an eyebrow. "That picture says otherwise." Before Josie could respond, her phone rang. It was Sam. "Have you seen it?" he asked without preamble, his voice tight. "The newspaper just now." "I'm so sorry, Josie. I never wanted to drag you into this." Josie sank into a chair. "There are reporters at the end of my driveway, Sam." "I know. I'm trying to get to you, but they're following me too." He paused. "This is exactly what I was running from when I came to your orchard. The constant scrutiny, the lack of privacy." Josie closed her eyes. "What do we do?" "I have an idea," Sam said, "but you're not going to like it." An hour later, Josie sat beside Sam in the small conference room of the Meadow Valley Inn. Across from them was a woman in a sleek suit who had introduced herself as Diane Reynolds, Sam's personal PR manager. "Her statement is the cleanest approach," Diane was saying, sliding a paper across the table. "We acknowledge your friendship, clarify that Ms. Miller had no knowledge of Mr. Ryder's identity initially, and emphasize that Ryder Agritech's support of local agriculture is part of the company's new environmental initiative." Josie stared at the paper. "So I'm a charity case and a PR opportunity?" "Josie," Sam began, but she cut him off. "No, I want to hear what your PR expert thinks I am." Josie looked directly at Diane. "What exactly is my role in this narrative you're crafting?" Diane didn't flinch. "Frankly, Ms. Miller, my job is to protect Sam and the company. The board is watching his every move since the scandal. A rural romance might seem charming to the public, but to shareholders, it looks like another distraction when he should be focused on saving the company." "Diane," Sam warned, but Josie had heard enough. "I think we're done here," she said, standing up. "I won't be part of your press release." She left the conference room, ignoring Sam calling her name. Outside, she ducked past the reporters gathered in the parking lot and got into her truck. Tears threatened, but she fought them back. What had she expected? That she could just fit neatly into Sam Ryder's world? Sam caught up to her before she could drive away, sliding into the passenger seat and closing the door against the shouted questions from the press. "Josie, wait, please." "What was I thinking?" Josie said, gripping the steering wheel. This isn't going to work, Sam. Our worlds are too different. That's not true, Sam insisted. What happened back there, that's not my world. That's just the noise around it. Josie turned to look at him. But it is your world. The company, the board, the press. That's your reality, Sam. Just like the orchard is mine. Sam reached for her hand. What if they could be our realities? Both of them together. The sincerity in his eyes made her pause. How? I don't know yet, Sam admitted. But I know I'm not willing to lose you again. Not when I just found you. A reporter knocked. On the window, camera raised. Josie started the engine. Get down, she instructed Sam, and he slid lower in his seat as she drove past the crowd. Where are we going? Sam asked. Somewhere we can talk without an audience. Josie drove them to a secluded spot overlooking the valley. It was a place her father had taken her as a child, where you could see 5 orchards stretching across the landscape. They sat on the hood of her truck, the late October sun warming them against the autumn chill. I'm sorry about Diane, Sam said. I thought she could help us manage the situation, but I shouldn't have exposed you to that. Josie sighed. It's not just Diane. It's everything. Your life in Chicago, my life here. How can this possibly work? Because I don't want that life. In Chicago, not the way it was, Sam said. Even before I met you, I was suffocating there. That's why I ran. But you went back, Josie pointed out. You got on that helicopter because I had to clean up the mess my cousin made, because thousands of jobs were at stake. Sam's voice was earnest. But going back made me realize I can't just abandon my responsibilities. I have to find a way to honor them and still be true to myself. Josie looked out over the valley. And where do I fit into that? Sam turned her face gently toward his. You're the reason I finally understand what matters. Working here with you showed me what it feels like to build something real with my own hands. I don't want to lose that feeling. I don't want to lose you. I'm not asking you to choose between your company and me, Josie said. That's not fair to anyone. What if you didn't have to? Sam suggested. What if there was a way to bridge our worlds? Before Josie could ask what he meant, her phone rang. It was Peterson from the bank, Miss Miller, he said when she answered, his voice unusually deferential. I wanted to personally thank you for your payment. The bank is very pleased with our renewed relationship. Thank you, Josie said, confused by his sudden warmth. In fact, Peterson continued, we'd like to discuss additional financing options for your expansion plans. Expansion plans, Josie repeated, looking at Sam, who suddenly seemed very interested in the view. Yes, the Innovation Hub proposal. Mr. Ryder's team sent it over this morning. Quite impressive. Of course, we'd be delighted to be part of such a forward-thinking agricultural initiative. After ending the call, Josie turned to Sam. Innovation Hub? Care to explain? Sam had the grace to look sheepish. I was going to tell you, it's just an idea at this stage. What kind of idea? Ryder Agritech has been developing smaller-scale technology for family farms. More affordable, more accessible. We need test sites to refine the systems. Josie narrowed her eyes. And you thought my orchard would make a good guinea pig. I thought your orchard would make a good partner, Sam corrected. You know farming, I know technology. Together we could create sustainable solutions that actually work for small farmers. Josie shook her head in disbelief. And when were you planning to discuss this with me? Today, actually, Sam admitted. Before the newspaper and the reporters complicated things. Josie was quiet for a long moment. Part of her wanted to be angry at him for making plans involving her orchard without her knowledge. But another part recognized that he might have found a way to merge their worlds that benefited them both. What exactly would this partnership entail? She asked cautiously. Sam's eyes lit up. Your orchard would be the flagship site for our new small farm initiative. We'd install systems, irrigation, pest management, soil monitoring, and you'd provide practical feedback. The goal is to increase yield and reduce costs for farms like yours across the country. And what does Ryder Agritech get out of it? Real-world testing, brand rehabilitation, a foothold in a market we've ignored too long. Sam paused. And a CEO who gets to spend a lot more time in Apple Country. Despite herself, Josie smiled. You've got it all figured out, haven't you? Not everything, Sam said, taking her hand, "but I'm working on it." As they sat together, looking out over the valley, Josie allowed herself to imagine a future where Sam's vision became reality. A future where she kept her orchard and gained a partner. It was tempting, more tempting than she wanted to admit. "I need time to think about this," she said finally. Sam nodded. "Take all the time you need. No pressure." But pressure came from an unexpected source the very next day. Josie was in the barn inspecting the new irrigation controls when a sleek black car pulled up outside. A man she didn't recognize stepped out, wearing an expensive suit and a confidence that reminded her of Sam, but colder, more calculated. "Josie Miller," he called. "Michael Davis, I was hoping we could talk." Josie approached cautiously. "What about?" "About Sam Ryder, and about your future." Davis smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I believe we might have mutual interests." Josie crossed her arms. "I doubt that very much." "Don't be so quick to dismiss me," Davis said smoothly. "I know Sam's offered you some kind of partnership. I'm here to offer you something better." "I'm not interested," Davis persisted. "Ryder Agritech is vulnerable right now. The scandal, the stock price, Sam's distractions." He gestured around at the orchard. "My company, Davis Agriculture, is poised to acquire several of their divisions. We need someone with insider knowledge to make it happen smoothly." "And you think that's me?" Josie asked incredulously. "I think you have Sam Ryder's ear, and his heart, apparently." Davis pulled out his phone and showed her a photo, the same one from the newspaper, but taken from a different angle. "I can make it worth your while. Very worth your while." Josie felt sick. "You took that picture, you planted the story." Davis shrugged, unrepentant. "Business is business. The question is, which side do you want to be on? The winning side, with a generous compensation package, or the losing side, with a boyfriend whose company is circling the drain?" "Get off my property," Josie said, her voice dangerously quiet. "Think about it," Davis said, handing her a business card. "My offer won't last forever. Neither will Ryder Agritech if Sam keeps prioritizing romance over reality." After he left, Josie sat on a hay bale, turning the business card over in her fingers. She should call Sam, warn him about Davis, but something held her back. What if Davis was right? What if Sam's interest in her was jeopardizing his company? She couldn't be responsible for the failure of Ryder Agritech and the livelihoods that depended on it. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sam. "Dinner tonight." "I have news," Josie replied with a simple yes, then tucked Davis's card into her pocket. She needed to figure out what to do, and she needed to do it before dinner. Sam spent the afternoon at the Meadow Valley Inn, working remotely while he waited for Josie's answer about the partnership. He understood her hesitation. She was fiercely independent, and his proposal could look like he was trying to take over or save her orchard. That wasn't his intention at all. His phone rang. Harold Barnes, the company lawyer. "Samuel, we have a situation," Harold began without preamble. "Michael Davis is in town." Sam felt a chill. Davis had been trying to undermine Ryder Agritech for years and had nearly succeeded when the scandal broke. "What's he doing here?" "We're not sure, but it can't be good. His company just announced they're exploring agricultural technology acquisitions." "The timing is suspicious," Sam agreed. "Keep me posted if you hear anything else." After hanging up, Sam stared out the window at the small town that had become unexpectedly important to him. He'd come here to escape, but instead had found something worth fighting for, both personally and professionally. His phone chimed with an email from his father's doctor. Joseph Ryder was asking for him again. The cancer was progressing faster than expected. Sam made a quick call to arrange for the company jet to fly him to Arizona tomorrow. He needed to see his father one more time before he couldn't finish the thought. That evening, Sam picked Josie up at the orchard. The reporters had mostly given up and moved on to fresher stories, so they were able to leave without harassment. Sam took her to a small restaurant in the next town over, where they were less likely to be recognized. "You're quiet tonight," Sam observed as they waited for their food. Josie forced a smile. "Just tired. Harvest season takes a lot out of me." Sam reached across the table for her hand. I have news. 2 pieces, actually. One good, one not so good. Josie braced herself. Let's start with the not so good. My father's condition is worsening. I need to fly to Arizona tomorrow to see him. Josie squeezed his hand. I'm so sorry, Sam. Of course you should go. I don't know how long I'll be gone, Sam continued, but I wanted you to know why I'm leaving. This isn't me running away again. Josie nodded, her throat tight. She thought of her own father, of losing him so suddenly. And the good news? Sam's eyes brightened. The board has approved my proposal for the Small Farm Technology Initiative. They see it as a way to rebuild our reputation and expand into a new market. They want to move quickly. That's wonderful, Josie said, trying to match his enthusiasm. Sam studied her. You don't sound convinced. If you've decided it's not. Right for your orchard, I understand. There's no pressure. Josie took a deep breath. She needed to tell him about Davis, about the threat to his company, about her fears that she was becoming a liability to him. But looking into his hopeful face, she couldn't bring herself to ruin this moment. It's not that, she said instead. It's just a lot to process. The partnership, the press, your father's illness. It's all happening so fast. Sam nodded. I know, and I'm asking a lot of you to trust me, to open your orchard to new ideas, to be part of my complicated life. I'm not afraid of complicated, Josie said. I'm afraid of losing what matters. The orchard? That, Josie admitted, and more. Their food arrived, momentarily pausing the conversation. As they ate, they talked about lighter things. Sam's first disastrous attempt at pruning, Josie's childhood adventures in the orchard, their shared love of apple cider donuts from the local bakery. It was easy being with him like this, too easy to forget the complications waiting outside the restaurant doors. After dinner, Sam drove them back to the orchard. The night was clear, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. He parked in front of the farmhouse, but made no move to get out. When do you leave tomorrow? Josie asked. Early, the company jet will be waiting in Portland. Sam turned to her. I want you to know that no matter what you decide about the partnership, it doesn't change how I feel about you. Josie looked down at her hands. And how do you feel? Like I've spent my whole life searching for something I didn't know was missing until I found you, Sam said simply. Like the man I am when I'm with you is the man I want to be. Josie felt tears stinging her eyes. Sam, there's something I need to tell you. But she was interrupted by the farmhouse door opening. Aunt Martha wheeled herself onto the porch, waving urgently. Josie, Sam, come quick, it's on the news. They hurried inside to find Martha in front of the small television. On screen was a breaking news banner. Ryder Agritech faces hostile takeover bid. The reporter was mid-sentence. Surprise. Move from Davis Agriculture. Sources close to the deal suggest Davis has been quietly acquiring Ryder stock, following last month's scandal, and now controls enough shares to mount a serious challenge to current CEO Samuel Ryder's leadership. Sam's phone exploded with calls and texts. As he tried to respond, Josie felt a sick feeling in her stomach. Davis had made his move and he'd done it while Sam was distracted with her. I need to go, Sam said, his voice tight with tension. I have to get back to Chicago. What about your father? Josie asked. Sam's face was anguished. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But right now, thousands of jobs are at stake. He turned to leave, then paused and came back to Josie. I'm sorry. This isn't how I wanted this night to end. Go, Josie said. Your company needs you. Sam kissed her quickly. I'll call you as soon as I know more. After he left, Martha looked at Josie with concern. Are you all right? Josie pulled Davis's business card from her pocket and stared at it. This is my fault, Aunt Martha. How could this possibly be your fault? Davis came to see me today. He wanted me to help him get information about Sam's company. I told him to leave, but I didn't warn Sam. Josie sank onto the couch. I was too busy worrying about whether I was a distraction to see the real threat. Martha wheeled closer. You can't blame yourself for this man's actions, but I can fix it, Josie said suddenly, reaching for her phone. Or at least try to. Sam arrived in Chicago to find Ryder Agritech in chaos. The board had called an emergency meeting, shareholders were panicking, and the press was having a field day with the potential downfall of yet another Ryder. Harold met him at the corporate headquarters, looking grave. "It's worse than we thought. Davis has convinced several key shareholders that your recent distractions make you unfit to lead the company through this crisis." "My distractions," Sam repeated, anger rising. "You mean while I was cleaning up the mess James created?" "No," Harold said uncomfortably. "Your disappearance, your romance with a farmer, the perception that you're not fully committed to saving the company." Sam's jaw tightened. "That's ridiculous." "It may be, but perception matters. The board meeting is in an hour. Davis will be there with his proposal. You need to be prepared to fight for your company." As Harold briefed him on the details, Sam's mind was racing. He needed to save the company his family had built, but he also needed to be with his dying father. And somehow, in the midst of all this, he'd fallen in love with a woman whose world could not be more different from the corporate battlefield he was about to enter. "One more thing," Harold added. "Your father called. He's insisting on being connected to the board meeting by video. He says he has something to say." Sam nodded, touched by his father's determination to support him even now. "Make it happen." As the hour approached, Sam prepared himself for the fight of his life. Not just for the company, but for the future he was beginning to imagine. One that somehow included both Ryder Agritech and Josie Miller's apple orchard. The boardroom was tense as members took their seats. On a large screen at the end of the table, Joseph Ryder's gaunt face appeared, determination still visible in his sunken eyes. And beside him, to Sam's complete shock, sat Josie. "What the—" Sam began, but was interrupted by the arrival of Michael, Davis flanked by his own lawyers and advisors. "Well, well," Davis said, eyeing the screen with surprise. "The old man himself. And a farmer? How quaint." The board chairman called the meeting to order. "We're here to discuss Davis Agriculture's offer to acquire controlling interest in Ryder Agritech. Mr. Davis, you have the floor." Davis launched into his presentation, outlining the failings of current leadership and his vision for the company's future, a future that involved breaking up Ryder Agritech and selling off its most valuable divisions. When he finished, all eyes turned to Sam, but before he could speak, Joseph Ryder's voice came through the speakers. "Before my son responds, I'd like to introduce someone. This is Josie Miller, owner of Miller's Orchard, and the woman your CEO has been working with to develop the next phase of Ryder Agritech's evolution." Sam stared at the screen in disbelief as Josie began to speak. "I'm not a businesswoman," she said simply. "I'm a farmer. My family has worked the same land for 3 generations, just like the Ryders have built this company for generations. Yesterday, Mr. Davis came to my orchard with an offer. He wanted me to help him acquire information about Ryder Agritech. He thought because of my relationship with Sam I could be bought." Davis's face darkened. "This is ridiculous." "Let her finish," Joseph commanded, and the board chairman nodded. "I turned him down," Josie continued, "not just because it was wrong, but because I believe in what Sam Ryder is trying to build. A company that remembers its roots in agriculture. A company that recognizes that technology is meaningless if it doesn't help real people grow real food on real land." She looked directly at the camera, and Sam felt as though she was looking only at him. "Sam has a vision for Ryder Agritech that honors its past while creating a future that works for all kinds of farmers. Not just the giant operations, but family farms like mine. That's the kind of leadership worth fighting for." The boardroom was silent when she finished. Then Joseph Ryder spoke again, his voice weak but determined. "My son didn't tell me to say this. In fact, he doesn't know I'm about to say it." Joseph paused to gather strength. "But after meeting Ms. Miller and hearing about the small farm initiative, I've decided to vote my controlling shares, all of them, in support of Samuel's continued leadership." Davis stood up angrily. "This is a stunt, a desperate ploy to—" "It's my company, Mr. Davis," Joseph interrupted. It has been since I founded it 40 years ago, and it will continue to be a Ryder company long after I'm gone." The mood in the boardroom shifted palpably. Board members exchanged glances. The chairman cleared his throat. "Well, in light of Mr. Ryder Sr.'s declaration of support, I suggest we table Mr. Davis's proposal and proceed with a vote of confidence in current leadership." As Davis and his team stormed out, Sam remained frozen, staring at the screen where his father and Josie sat side by side, an unlikely alliance that had just saved his company. "Sam?" Joseph's voice pulled him back to the moment. "There's a jet waiting to bring you to Arizona, and bring Ms. Miller with you. I think we have more to discuss about the future of Ryder Agritech." As the meeting concluded, Sam grabbed his phone and called Josie. "How did you—" he began. "I'll explain everything," Josie promised. "But first you need to go see your father. I'll meet you there." "Josie," Sam said, his voice thick with emotion. "What you did today was just returning the favor," she finished. "You saved my orchard, I saved your company, now we're even." Sam laughed, feeling lightheaded with relief and gratitude. "Even? Not even close. But we can discuss that when I see you." As he headed for the airport, Sam felt something he hadn't experienced since taking over the company. Hope, not just for Ryder Agritech, but for himself. For a future where the man in the mud and the man in the boardroom could be one and the same, and where a certain stubborn apple farmer might be by his side through it all. The Arizona sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink as Sam's rental car pulled up to his father's estate. The sprawling desert mansion, once a symbol of Ryder success, now felt like a monument to fading glory. Sam sat in the car for a moment, gathering his strength for what was to come. Inside, a nurse led him to Joseph's room. His father looked worse than Sam had expected, thinner, paler, the strong man who had built an empire now diminished by illness. But his eyes were as sharp as ever. "You took your time," Joseph said, his voice barely above a whisper. Sam sat in the chair beside the bed. "Had to save the company first." A ghost of a smile crossed Joseph's face. "That's my boy." For a moment they sat in silence, years of unspoken words hanging between them. Then Joseph reached for Sam's hand. "That woman of yours," he said. "She's something special." Sam nodded. "Josie. Yes, she is. Reminds me of your mother. Before—" Joseph trailed off, but Sam knew what he meant. Before the money and the pressure changed everything. Before she left them both. "She flew back to her orchard," Sam explained. "Said she'd be here tomorrow." Joseph's eyes drifted to the window. "Might not have tomorrow." The words hit Sam like a physical blow. "Don't talk like that, Dad." "It's the truth," Joseph said simply. "And it's time for truth between us, son." Sam swallowed hard. "Okay." "I was wrong," Joseph said, each word costing him effort. "About a lot of things. Pushed you too hard. Cared too much about the company. Not enough about you." Sam felt tears burning his eyes. "Dad, you don't have to—" "Let me finish," Joseph insisted. "Not much time left." He took a labored breath. "I saw you today, in that meeting, fighting for what you believe in, for what the company could be. I was proud." "We stopped Davis," Sam said. "Together." "For now," Joseph warned. "Men like that don't give up easily." His grip on Sam's hand tightened, briefly. "But you're stronger than I gave you credit for. And that Josie, she's your strength, isn't she?" Sam nodded, unable to speak around the lump in his throat. "Don't make my mistakes," Joseph continued. "Don't choose the company over love. Find a way to have both." "I'm trying," Sam said. Joseph's eyes began to droop. "I know you are a better man than me." His voice grew fainter. "Tell your mother, tell her I'm sorry." Sam stayed with his father as he drifted to sleep, the beeping monitors creating a melancholy rhythm in the quiet room. The nurse came in to check Joseph's vitals, her face professionally neutral. "How long?" Sam asked. She shook her head. "Days, maybe hours. It's good you're here now." Sam nodded and settled in for the night, unwilling to leave his father's side. Josie arrived at the Ryder estate the next afternoon. The private jet Sam had sent for her had been an uncomfortable reminder of their different worlds. She had spent the flight alternating between worry for Sam and his father and anxiety about what came next for them. The house was even larger than she had imagined, surrounded by manicured desert landscape that must require a small army to maintain. She felt out of place in her simple jeans and button-down shirt as a housekeeper led her through marble hallways to Joseph's room. She found Sam asleep in a chair beside his father's bed, his hand still holding Joseph's. The older rider was awake, his eyes finding hers as she entered. "Ms. Miller," he said softly, careful not to wake Sam. "Thank you for coming." Josie approached the bed. "Mr. Ryder, how are you feeling?" "Like I'm dying," Joseph answered bluntly. "Which I am, but better for seeing you." Josie sat in the chair on the opposite side of the bed. "I was glad to help yesterday, with the board meeting." Joseph studied her. "That wasn't just help, that was courage. Standing up to a room full of sharks isn't easy, especially for someone from outside our world." "I did what I thought was right," Josie said simply. "For Sam?" Joseph asked. "Or for yourself?" Josie considered this. "For both of us, I think. And for something bigger than either of us." Joseph nodded slowly. "The land, the legacy. I understand that better than you might think." He gestured weakly around the room. "All this, and it started with dirt under my fingernails too. My father had a small farm in Nebraska. Nothing fancy, but it taught me to value what grows from hard work. Sam told me you built the company from nothing," Josie said. "Not nothing. Knowledge. Determination." Joseph's eyes drifted to his sleeping son. "Love. My wife and I had dreams together once, before I forgot what really mattered." In sleep, Sam looked younger, the worry lines around his eyes smoothed away. Josie felt a wave of tenderness for him. "He's a good man," Joseph said, watching. "Her? Better than me." "He is," Josie agreed, "but he needs someone to remind him of that, someone who sees him, not the rider name or the money." Joseph's voice grew serious. "Davis will be back, and there will be others after him. People who want to use Sam, control him, change him." "I know," Josie said. "Do you love him?" Joseph asked directly. The question caught Josie off guard, but she answered honestly. "Yes, even though it terrifies me." Joseph smiled faintly. "Love should terrify you, otherwise it's not worth fighting for." He shifted slightly, wincing in pain. "I have a proposition for you, Ms. Miller. A business proposition." Josie leaned closer to hear his weakening voice. "My estate includes a trust, separate from the company. Substantial." Joseph paused to catch his breath. "I'm adding a condition. Part of it goes to establish a research center for small farm technology, based at Miller's Orchard." Josie's eyes widened. "Mr. Ryder, I can't accept." "It's not a gift," Joseph interrupted. "It's an investment in my son's vision, in your partnership." His eyes held hers. "I don't have to choose between your worlds. Merge them, create something new together." Before Josie could respond, Sam stirred and opened his eyes. He looked first at his father, then followed Joseph's gaze to find Josie. "You're here," he said, relief in his voice. "I'm here," Josie confirmed. Joseph watched them with satisfaction. "Good. Now I can rest." He closed his eyes. "You two have planning to do." Joseph Ryder died peacefully the next morning, with Sam holding one hand and Josie the other. His last words were, "Remember what matters." The days that followed were a blur of funeral arrangements, press statements, and somber board meetings. Sam moved through it all with quiet dignity, strengthened by Josie's steady presence beside him. She had extended her stay, unwilling to leave him alone to face his grief and responsibilities. After the funeral, they retreated to Joseph's estate. Sam found his father's will waiting, along with a letter addressed to him. They sat together on the patio overlooking the desert as Sam read it aloud. "Samuel, by now you know about the research center at Miller's Orchard. It wasn't a deathbed decision, but a recognition of what I saw in both of you. A chance to heal. What I broke. The company consumed me, cost me your mother's love and nearly yours. Don't make my mistakes. Build something that matters. With someone who matters, I've watched you struggle to carry the Ryder legacy. Now I'm giving you permission to reshape it, not abandon it, honor it by making it your own. With Ms. Miller at your side, I believe you'll find the balance I never could. Remember the mud, son. Remember what it taught you." Sam folded the letter, his eyes wet with tears. "He knew," he said softly. "Somehow he understood what I was searching for." Josie took his hand. "And did you find it?" Sam looked at her. "I think I did, but I'm not sure I know what to do with it yet." Josie smiled gently. "Maybe we figure that out together." When they returned to Washington State a week later, the orchard was waiting, quiet in the approaching winter. Aunt Martha welcomed them with open arms and knowing eyes. "The place didn't fall apart without you," she told Josie, "but it missed you all the same." In the days that followed, Sam and Josie walked the orchard in the crisp autumn air, talking about the future, about the research center Joseph had envisioned, about what it might mean for them, for the orchard, for Ryder Agritech. "I need to be in Chicago sometimes," Sam admitted. "The company still needs direction, especially now." "I know," Josie said, "and I need to be here. This land is part of me." "So where does that leave us?" Sam asked, the question that had been hovering between them. Josie stopped walking and turned to face him. "I've been thinking about something your father said, about not choosing between worlds but merging them." She took a deep breath. "The research center could be more than a building. It could be a bridge between small farms and big technology, between your world and mine. Co-run by Ryder Agritech and Miller's Orchard," Sam suggested, warming to the idea. "Equal partners," Josie agreed, "with you and me at the helm." Sam's eyes brightened with possibilities. "We could develop systems specifically for small farms, affordable, accessible, technology that actually helps instead of replacing farmers. And we could test everything right here," Josie added. "Real-world applications, real-time feedback. My father would have loved it," Sam said softly. "I think he did," Josie replied. "That's why he set it in motion." They continued walking, the future taking shape between them. It wouldn't be easy. There would be resistance from the board, skepticism from other farmers, the constant challenge of bridging two different worlds. But for the first time, both Sam and Josie could see a path forward that honored who they were and what they could become together. That evening, they sat on the porch swing as darkness settled over the orchard. The first stars were appearing. In the clear sky, "There's something I haven't told you," Sam said. "About the day I first came here." Josie looked at him expectantly. "I almost drove past," he admitted. "I saw the help wanted sign, but nearly convinced myself it was a bad idea, that I should keep running, find somewhere more anonymous." "What made you stop?" Josie asked. Sam smiled. "I saw you, standing in the orchard, arguing with that old tractor. You looked so determined, like nothing could defeat you." He took her hand. "I thought, I want to know someone who fights like that." Josie's heart swelled. "And now I want more than to know you," Sam said. "I want to build something with you, a life, a future." He hesitated. "If you'll have me," Josie thought, about all they'd been through. The lies and truths, the mud and the boardrooms, the helicopters and the tractors, two worlds that should never have collided, yet somehow fit together like puzzle pieces. "One condition," she said. "You have to remember where we started, in the dirt, with mud on your jeans and calluses on your hands." She touched his face. "I fell in love with that man first. He's still here," Sam promised, "always will be." Their kiss was gentle at first, then deeper, filled with promise and possibility. When they finally pulled apart, Josie rested her head on Sam's shoulder. "So what happens now?" she asked. "Now we get to work," Sam said, his arm around her. "We have an orchard to run, a company to reshape, and a research center to build. And an UIS to figure out," Josie added. Sam nodded. "That most of all." Spring came to Miller's Orchard with a burst of pink and white blossoms. The trees that had stood bare through winter were now dressed in their finest, promising a bountiful harvest to come. The foundation for the research center had been laid at the edge of the property, a modern building designed to blend with the rural landscape. Construction crews worked alongside farmhands, a visible symbol of the worlds coming together. Josie stood in the newly planted section of the orchard, checking the moisture sensors Sam's team had installed. The technology was already proving its worth, helping them use water more efficiently while monitoring the health of each tree. "How's it looking?" Sam called, walking toward her from the direction of the barn. He was dressed in work clothes, mud on his boots, looking every bit the farmer he had pretended to be when they first met. "Green across the board," Josie replied with a smile. "The system works." "Of course it works," Sam said, reaching her. "We designed it together." He pulled her into his arms for a quick kiss, then looked around at the blossoming orchard with pride. In the months since Joseph's death, they had transformed not just Miller's orchard, but Ryder Agritech as well. The small farm initiative had become the company's fastest growing division. Farmers across the country were signing up for the technology packages developed and tested at Miller's orchard. The board, initially skeptical, had been won over by the positive press and promising financial returns. The Chicago office called. Sam said, "The Davis acquisition fell through. His investors pulled out when they saw our quarterly numbers." "Good," Josie said firmly. "I never trusted that man." Sam laughed. "Neither did I, but he did us a favor in a way. Without his threat, I might never have seen what was possible here." They walked hand in hand toward the farmhouse, where Aunt Martha was waiting on the porch. The renovations were complete. The old house expanded and modernized while preserving its character. Martha had a new ground floor suite with accessible features, making her life easier. "You two look pleased with yourselves," Martha observed as they approached. "We have reason to be," Sam said, grinning. Josie squeezed his hand in warning, but it was too late. Martha's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "What are you two up to?" she demanded. Sam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. "I was going to wait until dinner, but..." Martha clasped her hands together in delight as Sam turned to Josie and dropped to one knee in the dirt. "Josie Miller," he said, opening the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I love you. I love this orchard. I love the life we're building together." His eyes were earnest, vulnerable. "Will you marry me?" Josie looked at the man kneeling before her, mud on his jeans, hope in his eyes, his heart laid bare. The man who had come to her orchard running from his name and found himself instead. The man who had learned to balance boardrooms and apple trees, power and humility, ambition and love. "Yes," she said, her voice steady and sure. "Yes, I will." As Sam slipped the ring onto her finger, Martha wiped away tears of joy. "Your father would be so proud," she told Josie. Josie nodded, feeling her own father's presence in the orchard all around them. "I think both our fathers would be proud," she said to Sam. Later that evening, they stood together at the edge of the orchard, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors no artist could capture. The research center was silhouetted against the horizon, a promise taking physical form. "Mrs. Ryder," Sam said thoughtfully. "How does that sound?" Josie tilted her head. "It sounds fine, but I was thinking maybe Miller Ryder for both of us." Sam considered this. "Sam and Josie Miller Ryder, partners in every way." "Just like our orchard and your company," Josie agreed. "Equal, stronger together." "I like it," Sam said, pulling her close. "Miller Ryder Orchard and Research Center, the best of both worlds." As darkness fell over the apple trees, they made their way back to the farmhouse, its windows glowing with warm light. Inside, Martha was waiting with champagne and congratulations. The phone was already ringing with well-wishers, Earl and the neighbors, Sam's colleagues in Chicago, friends old and new. Their journey had begun with a man covered in mud, seeking to disappear. It had led to two people finding themselves and each other, and a future neither could have imagined alone. Outside, the apple trees stood in silent witness, their branches reaching toward the stars. They had seen generations come and go, love found and lost, struggles and triumphs. Now they would watch as the Miller Ryder legacy took root, growing, stronger with each passing season. In the orchard where it all began, where a man beneath the mud had found his true self, and a woman fighting for her legacy had found her partner, a new story was just beginning. One of balance, of growth, of worlds merged rather than chosen between, and it all started with dirt under their fingernails and truth in their hearts. 6 months later, Josie stood in the newly completed research center, watching farmers from across the state tour the facilities. The grand opening had drawn more attention than she'd expected. Press, agricultural specialists, even a few competitors curious about what Ryder Agritech and Miller's Orchard had created together. Mrs. Miller Ryder, a young reporter, approached her. "Can you tell us what makes this initiative different from other agtech ventures?" Josie smiled at her new name, still getting used to how it sounded. Her wedding to Sam 2 months ago had been simple but beautiful, held right here among the apple trees. "What makes us different is that we understand both sides of the equation," she explained. "The technology and the farming, the corporate and the family-owned. We're not creating solutions in a vacuum. We're testing them in real soil, with real crops facing real challenges." The reporter nodded. "And how has your relationship with Samuel Ryder influenced the direction of the center?" Josie looked across the room, where Sam was demonstrating a soil monitoring system to a group of interested farmers. He caught her eye and smiled, that same warm smile that had first begun to break down her defenses all those months ago. "Our relationship taught us that you don't have to choose between worlds," Josie said. "You can bridge them. That's what we're doing here, bridging worlds for the benefit of both." After the tours concluded and the guests departed, Josie and Sam walked back to the farmhouse together. The autumn air was crisp, the orchard around them heavy with ripening apples, the first harvest using their integrated management system, and it was looking to be the best in the orchard's history. "Was today everything you hoped?" Sam asked, his arm around her waist. Josie leaned into him. "It was more. Seeing those farmers' faces when they realized the technology was actually designed for them, not just adapted from big agriculture. That was worth every struggle." Sam nodded. "The board was impressed too. The small farm division projections are being revised upward again." "Meaning you won't have to fight so hard for funding anymore," Josie said with satisfaction. "Meaning we can expand the program," Sam corrected. "More orchards, more farms, a network of testing sites across different growing regions." They reached the farmhouse, where Martha was waiting with dinner. The three of them had fallen into a comfortable routine, Sam splitting his time between Chicago and the orchard, Josie managing both the farm operations and the research center, Martha overseeing it all with wise eyes and ready advice. "I got a call from Michael Davis today," Sam mentioned as they sat down to eat. Josie's eyes narrowed. "What did he want?" "To discuss a potential collaboration," Sam said, his tone neutral. "He's been watching our success, wants to be part of it rather than compete with it." "Can he be trusted?" Martha asked bluntly. Sam shrugged. "Probably not, but his resources could help us reach more farmers faster." "It's your call," Josie said. "You know the business side better than I do." "No," Sam shook his head. "It's our call. We decide together, remember, equal partners." Josie smiled, remembering how far they'd come, from suspicion to trust, from separate worlds to a shared vision, from a man hiding beneath mud to a partnership built on truth. "Then let's discuss it," she said. After dinner, as they ate, they talked about the orchard, about the upcoming trip to Chicago, about the new varieties they were considering for next season. The conversation flowed easily between business and personal, work and love, just as their lives did. Later, as they sat on the porch watching the stars come out, Sam put his arm around Josie. "Happy?" he asked simply. Josie thought about everything, the challenges they'd overcome, the future they were building, the balance they'd found between his world and hers. "Yes," she said, resting her head on his shoulder. "Happier than I ever thought possible." Above them, the night sky stretched endless and bright. Below them, the soil held the roots of trees that had weathered countless seasons. And between them, in the space where their hearts met, was the truth they had discovered together. Real love, like the strongest trees, grows best when rooted in honest earth. And even the most polished facade is no match for the authenticity of a man beneath the mud. The end.